And the other thing is, and this is kind of what I wanted to switch to here, Derrick Rose has scored at least 20 points in each of his last 8 games. Derrick Rose has willed the Pistons to competitive play and wins, in their last 2 consecutive games. He's having a borderline all-star season. And when, Aaron, you said borderline all-star referring to Reggie's first year here in Detroit, it just made me think D. Rose is having a pretty incredible season. And, he's putting up numbers like he was in his MVP seasons early in Chicago. Does Derrick Rose deserve to be an all-star in 2020?
Derrick Rose has made me eat each and every single one of my words from the summer.
Hell yeah, he has.
When I criticized that signing, I truly felt that it was a bad signing. But he has made me eat my words. And for that, I'm able to admit it. He has been fantastic this year. He's getting to the cup. He's finishing at a phenomenal rate. Again, the shooting has died down. That was one thing I was right on, was he is not a supreme three-point shooter. I was right about that. But in general, he's made me eat my words. He's been great. Obviously, some of his late-game antics, I'm still not a fan of. Some of his decision-making with the basketball, I'm still not a fan of. But there's no questioning that when he is on the court, the Pistons are a better team. He brings a completely different dynamic to the offense because he's the only guy on the roster that's healthy right now that's capable of going and getting a bucket. He has been effective, efficient, energetic, exciting. He's been great. That being said, I don't think he deserves to be on the All-Star team this year. He's coming off the bench. Obviously, he started the last 2 games, and I do think that going forward, that should continue. If there was, for some reason why Derrick wasn't starting, I thought, it was said that Derrick needs to come off the bench for his health and for his minutes restriction. But all of a sudden, that's been thrown out the water. That doesn't exist anymore, it seems like. And if that was the case, Derrick should have been starting quite some time ago. But I think when you look at his resume and you see, he's been coming off the bench all season, and he has missed some time. There are some other players that start and are on better teams, like a Chris Middleton. That maybe that team already has one All-Star, but he doesn't deserve an All-Star candidacy over them. And I don't want that to be taken as a slight at what Rose has done this year, because again, he's been a very good player for the Pistons. But at the end of the day, when you have as poor of a record as Detroit does, and you've come off the bench for, basically all season, he's only started 3 games this year, it's going to be very hard to get onto an All-Star roster.
How do his numbers compare this season compared to his MVP year per 36?
They're pretty close, right?
They're pretty close, right?
Pretty close. This year, just for point's sake, averaging 18.3 points a game, 5.9 assists per game, 2.4 rebounds per game. That's just over 22 minutes, nearly 23 minutes a game, and he's averaging 2.6 turnovers per game, which is less than his career average of 2.7.
So he's almost averaging a point a minute. So this guy's electric. And I get he's been coming off the bench, but he's been playing at a level very similar to his MVP year. Mm-hmm. Yes, granted the Pistons aren't very good, and Andre Drummond has been helping him, but he's been carrying the Pistons on his back for quite a bit now. A lot of what he's doing. And I get it doesn't show necessarily a lot in the win-loss column, but this team would be much worse without him.
Oh, yeah.
Much worse without him. And I get all-star nods and awards and all that good stuff go to players who are on good teams. Their play leads to great success for a team. And I get all of that. But the way he is playing right now, I don't see how you can deny him an all-star nod. He's playing like an all-star.
He really is.
He's playing like one of the better players in the league right now.
His caliber of play is definitely up there.
But who does he get in over? That's the question for me. Who does he deserve that nod over? Out of all the candidates in the Eastern Conference, you bring that roster down to 15. Who is he better than? Of that group? That's the challenge that I find in getting him on that roster.
Who are some last 2 roster spot candidates, in your opinion?
You're probably looking at Sabonis from the Pacers.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown. I think Bam Adebayo's been good enough to get it, but maybe he's still towards the back end. I think because of record, the Hawks have been so bad this year. Trae Young individually has been an all-star, but I think record is something that, even if it shouldn't be, is taken into account. He's on that back end of guys that, maybe could be an all-star. Spencer Dinwiddie, the list could go on, but I think getting him through is just a tough challenge.
The only name on that list that I was like, no, probably not, was Jaylen Brown. I can see him over Sabonis. Trae Young, that's iffy, I get it, but that team is so bad. Dinwiddie over him.
I'm reading something.
And I know the list can keep going and going, but I don't know. He's playing like he deserves it, if you ask me.
He's been great. Again, he's been great, and I'm not. It doesn't mean
I know it's
holding
not
a vendetta or anything like that. Derrick Rose has been really good. I just don't know if there's anyone I could put him in the All-Star game over. It's really tough for me to look at the list of guys that are All-Star candidates, quote unquote, and find a way that Derrick Rose fits into that top 15. Now, if they wanted to do, it's in Chicago this year, let's bring in a couple Chicago legends, and Derrick Rose gets a legend spot, kind of like how they did it for Dirk and Wade last year. I mean, great, but I don't know if I can get him in that top 15. I really think he's on that bubble on the outside looking in.
I mean, it's a fair point, and the argument can be had either way. It's not like, oh, he's definitely an all-star. Oh, he's definitely not an all-star.
Right.
I agree. It's like there's a lot of middle ground here. There's a lot of gray area. But to me, and it's not me trying to be a homer with the Pistons, because if I'll be the first one to be tough on and be like, no, absolutely do not put that person in. But Derrick Rose, his level of play, his efficiency, what he has meant to this team, even though it's still not a great team, it's very all-star level caliber.
If Rose even if they were in the same spot record-wise, if Rose had been starting, even the last 15, 20 games, I feel like it's a little bit more attainable. It's tough. I mean, reading things, he's not even, he's off a lot of even radar.
Yeah, I know.
He's not even considered a snub. He's just not even in the mix.
I think a lot of people look at the fact that he's coming off the bench, is only averaging 22, 23 minutes per game. And I think...
But what is he doing in those 22 minutes?
I agree.
It doesn't matter if you come off the bench. It honestly doesn't to me.
No.
If you're putting up numbers coming off the bench, who cares? Who cares?
Right?
And I get he's only playing the 22 minutes, but what is he doing with those 22 minutes?
Manu Ginobili.
There you go. I know that's just one example, but there you go.
Just had to put it out there.
Is he, if the Pistons had an all-star, is he your all-star over Drummond?
Probably.
Ooh, that's tough.
Dre is the league's leading rebounder, but that's still, to me, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't
I think Drummond...
It doesn't mean that much.
I think if you looked at people being considered for the All-Star game, I think Drummond is on people's radars more than Rose
definitely.
is.
Definitely.
Reading several things where Dre is considered a snub. A lot of people have Sabonis from Indiana making it over him as kind of like the last reserve, post-player spot.
If you were able to pick one representative from the Pistons...
Derrick Rose. I wouldn't. I wouldn't even... It doesn't take me anything to think about it.
I think Derrick Rose. It's not as
because
easy...
Ryan, your point is so just spot on with, listen, who cares if he's only playing 23 minutes a game? What is he doing in those 23 minutes?
And how is it affecting his team? It's been only really positive.
And it's especially because Derrick Rose is a guy, it's like, hey, he's not coming in and having a crazy second quarter and then kind of disappearing. The dude's hitting big buckets down the stretch in the fourth quarter.
Guys having dominant stretches again, like he did pre-injuries. Dominant stretches of games. Where it's just like, this is a clown show. No one can even look at him right now.
It's almost like you go back to his contract he signed in the offseason, and it's almost like, damn, I wish this was a 4-year deal.
This is a great value contract right now, the way he's playing.
See, for me,
Aaron, go on.
It's for me, it's a little tough.
No, I agree. It's not no problem like Brendan said, but throughout this talking about it, I talked myself into Derrick Rose.
We have spent the last almost month talking about how Dre has disappeared, talking about how Dre started hot and then is kind of just withered off. And he's not like he's been bad, but he has definitely not been great. He's not been what he was the first 10 games of the year. It's a no-brainer to me.
I'm just looking at the statistics. 18 points, 17
Don't
rebounds,
let the stats lie
3
to you.
assists,
Don't let
2
the stats lie to
steals,
you.
2 blocks. That's a pretty good resume right there.
I know, but Drummond has been a stat padder his whole career.
That's not stat padding. Get out of here.
Don't let the stats.
Don't start that.
The whole like
we can go 40
17
minutes on that if you want
game,
to.
The whole 17 rebounds a game. Just don't give me that.